we'll fuck you up. I can tell you one time, go grab your guns.
Oh my god, it's a gunpowder
I'll tell you
beauty.
one time, this day will I watch it.
Good evening, young lady. I feel I have to explain there was a tank hiding behind that building. I can make that happen for you. And all that's left after the fighting is the war room. Somebody pointed that out to me, actually. They thought it was really clever that it said that all that's left after the fighting is the war room. I never really thought about that, but they're right, and it's brilliant, and it was a complete accident. Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the war room. This is day 191. We are 6 months and a week into World War III. And you might be wondering why I'm saying that. But the theme of today's show is centered around one declaration by Pope Francis himself. And what's really funny is that he pointed out the very thing that we here at the War Room have been saying since the first day the war began. And that is that the world is in a world war, a third world war, and they're just not saying it. They don't want to realize it. And we talked about this in my lobby for working stiffs throughout the week as well. And what makes that rather interesting is how I pointed it out. I did it in a series of rhetorical questions where I had asked, are you supplying weapons of war to another nation so they can continue the defense of their country? The answer is yes. So the answer to that is you're involved. Does what's going on in this global conflict that has multiple nations from all around the world choosing sides, arming the side they chose, and verbally supporting the nation that they sided with? The answer to that is yes, which means it is a global conflict. Last question. Has it attracted the attention of worldwide media? Yes. That would mean it is a... what's the word I'm looking for? It is being cataloged in the annals of history by a global media. So we have a global proxy war fought, protected, defended, supplied, signed, sealed, and delivered by nations all around the world and being covered by the media all around the world. That's what a world war is. And nobody wants to say it because the moment you give it recognition is the day that the world has to take responsibility for ending it. And nobody wants to do that. So, as previously stated, welcome to the War Room. I have had the strangest week this week, and it had ended minutes before we went on air in furious fashion within my own house. But I'm not going to take it out on you, the viewer or the listener, because I'm glad you're here. And apparently Gunpowder Beauty is on a roll. I got to read this. Nothing says I love my wife like buying her a freaking awesome tank. Her husband is Tardot, for those of you who don't know. He says he already says I have expensive taste. I can't imagine the comments if I actually had a tank. Let me inform you, young lady, that there are auctions all across the country, and there are some even in jolly old England where you can buy even a scimitar light tank for less than the cost of a fully outfitted Toyota Camry. Now that I've planted that thought in your head, make sure you tell your husband that. Yes, you can have a rubber-tracked, diesel-powered, armored vehicle of wanton destruction. See, you don't have to build up a Komatsu in your garage and then terrorize a town because you're tired of them picking on you, like Marvin Heemeyer. Some of you know who that name is. Anyway, before he disappears and loses interest, I'm going to drag my co-host in. This is Scottish Naya, also known as Scott P79. So good evening to you, sir. And I sort of already did the intro about the World War III thing. I've already economically and waralistically seduced Gunpowder Beauty on the merits of getting a tank. Who needs a freaking Camry anyway? You can run over a Camry with the tank. And
Yeah, but you can trump the tank.
Well, you can use the main gun to blow away the Prius in front of the Camry. Just a thought. I'm sure
that'd
Greta
be
Thunberg
environmentally
would be.
unfriendly.
I can use...
Spreading all that lithium and battery acid everywhere?
Well, yeah, but I would just use a biodegradable warhead in the tank. Like, I don't know, compressed cow feces and sawdust or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Hempcrete?
Pykrete. Ooh, yeah, because then you can tell people to chill out when you hit them with sawdust and ice. Like, you needs to chill.
When you said chill out, I just got vibes of Arnold. You just need to chill out.
You need to chill out. I don't know. Every time I do the voice, I think of the one from The Simpsons.
And he does own a tank.
Yeah, he does. He owns an M60A1 main battle tank. Very cool. The same one that was used, or the same kind that was used in Los Angeles.
I thought he had a patent.
Yeah, M60A1. That's a patent tank.
No, I thought the patent was the one that was used in
There's
Korea.
two. Well, there's two.
Okay.
So, towards the end of World War II, the M26 Pershing came out. Then the T-26E1 Super Pershing came out. And then just before the war had ended, the M48 patent tank was released. Or the prototype.
Yeah, I thought he had an M48.
There was an M48, and then that was followed by the M60, which is a massive improvement on the M48. But by the time the M60 came out, we had M48A5s, which had all the accoutrement of an M60. It had the IR projector above the gun barrel and everything. So, like, I guess because we built so many of them, we figured, we just got to upgrade these up to that standard. Sort of like how that video I was talking about today, where they were talking about the next-gen fighter, because we've got F-22s and F-35s, and someone said, why don't we just upgrade to the, was it the F-36? And it was like a design competition or something. And they were like, this is how we can tweak, 3D print, and modify what's already there, and use a lot of the old parts, like the engines and things, to keep the cost down. And now I think it's the Air Force, they're in love with that idea. We'll see how that works. Anyway, we were expecting a Mikhail Naistryksky, but he's not here, because apparently half his family is in the emergency room. Don't worry, it's nothing major, it's just severe allergies. This is what happens when you live in a swampy coastal state.
Yeah, he's got a M47 patent.
47?
He doesn't have a... Yes.
So it's something in between. Okay, that's fine. I swear I saw the back of it, and the back had the angled exhaust slats like an M60 does. But so does the M48A5, so...
Yeah.
He's got something in between all of that, I'm sure.
He
Uh,
may have more than one at this point. Who knows?
yeah, he's got like every Humvee imaginable. Or no, I think he only had 3.
He's got a few Oshkoshes.
Yes, I think he has a Hemet also, the 8-wheel,
Yeah.
which cool.
I think he's been converting them all over to electric too.
Oh, gross.
I know he converted his first Hummer that he bought
Yeah.
way back in the day.
Mm,
He's converted that to being an EV.
gross.
He was actually the first civilian to buy a Hummer.
Yes, because he wanted one. He made the request,
Yeah.
and then AM General
Yep.
was like, "I guess we can modify one for you." And then the rest of the world decided, "Yeah, we want one too." Matter of fact, my friend who owns River Oaks Car Audio, he has several, and he does restorations on them too. So, and he puts the Typhoon audio systems in them. Kind of cool. Weird flex, I know. Let's see. Terry Scherer, seriously thinking about rotating turret on my 60-foot grain silo. If I were to recommend a turret for the top of a silo,
5
it
inch,
would, huh?
5 inch naval gun.
Nah, it has to be a reasonable weight because silos are pretty skeletal things with just a skin wrapped around them. I would probably recommend the quad 20 millimeter turret that was used, the dorsal turret on a B-29. And if you need access to one, just wait a couple of more months when Lake Mead recedes a couple more feet, and you can just take the one off the B-29 that's in the lake.
Or
It's just a service I provide.
we could steal one of the quad 40 millimeter Bofors turrets off of the Texas.
They do have to take them off to restore them, don't they?
Yes, they do.
It'd be awfully funny if they took one down that was made out of metal with Bofors cannons on it, and they came back and there was a perfect one-to-one balsa wood copy with broom handles sticking out of it. Don't fucking tempt me. I want that ship intact. I want to buy it for $1, because I'll buy that for $1. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, the battleship Texas is now moored in dry dock, and Scott found some brilliant pictures. And had I had more time to do the show prep, I would show you those. Maybe I'll be able to share that with you next episode, because I can accumulate more pictures. Shit, there was other pictures I wanted to share. Oh, that's right. Okay. It's not really breaking news now unless you just got home and tuned in to me tonight. But for those of you who don't know, which if you're gun people, you probably already know, Chuck. James Yeager has passed away. It was announced today. For those of you who don't, I promised I wouldn't expand on this too much because I saw the video released by friends and family on his channel, thanks to Scott, uh, about his final wishes, and he didn't really want people to dwell on this too much. So, long story short, he was diagnosed with terminal. Okay, you're gonna have to help me with this. The way I read it is he was diagnosed with a terminal condition and ALS. But then I also read another story that said he was, diagnosed with terminal ALS, which, yes, ALS is terminal.
Mhm.
So,
I
either
think it's
way,
just wordplay.
yeah, I agree. If he had been diagnosed with ALS, your average life expectancy from your diagnosis is anywhere between 2 to like 6 years. For him to have passed
Well, I
on,
saw it was 2 to 4.
some people last longer because of really good medical treatment. But either way, from diagnosis to date of death for him is extremely short. And the video that I watched, basically the family was like, he went out like a warrior on his own terms with his family by his side. And I'm sorry, but I can't help but to think that man opted out while he still had full faculties before he couldn't, because he didn't want to dwindle away and burden his family. And in that case, what an incredibly noble and brave guy to do that. I usually am the type of guy who says that people who commit suicide, I don't want to, I'm not belittling them, but it is sort of the coward's way out. But in his case, with his condition, what a noble gesture. I'm not going to put my family through this. I'm going to control my own destiny while I still have the ability. And Scott and I came up with 2 different methods of how he did it because of the way that it was described in the video. And I got to admit, in all honesty, how hard is it to grab enough fentanyl to shoot yourself up, in front of your family in short order, right? That'd be an easy, smooth, hell of a way to go. And I think you mentioned heroin, which, strangely enough, there were families, I think in Denmark, there was a couple, an elderly couple, who cataloged their own suicide. They both were married together for like 60 years or something, and one of them had a terminal disease and the other one had cancer that was being treated, but they weren't sure if they were going to pull through. So then both of them agreed that they were going to go out on their own terms, and they sort of cataloged their final trip together where they overdosed on heroin and basically went out with a smile on their face. And it's like, can you blame them? I couldn't. Anyway, if you didn't know, James Yeager has passed. That's all I'm going to say about it. We had theories on how he went out because of the way they described how he went out, but he didn't want people to talk about it. They wanted you to celebrate his life and the memories of his life. So that's all I'm going to say about it. If you didn't know, now you know. Anyway, since I don't have Mikhail Neistreiksky, and I don't have Jaime, who is probably avoiding us right now because RPKs are still available. You didn't think I was going to forget that.
Well, I was about to point out that might be the reason Night Strike is avoiding us also.
Maybe. Feverishly 3D printing away since he spent all his money getting that thing running. But he said it was only like $20 to fix, so I'm not going to hold that against him. Anyway, we're probably going to get through today's show pretty quickly, unless, interactive chat starts asking a bunch of questions that we have to answer or whatever. Terry says that his silo is steel glass coated, so I'm thinking then, in that case, the turret you need is either going to be the dorsal plexiglass turret from a B-17, which had twin 50s, or if you wanted to go real fancy, you could try to find a way to modify the phone booth-looking tail turret of a Lancaster bomber that had quad 30...
Knew you were going there.
With quad 303 caliber machine guns. Oh, look at that. Zorro is in the chat. He's just not in the panel. Anyway, RPKs are still available. If you want to jump in, dude, just hit the green room. I'll drag you in. And then
I like his comment.
Yeah, we can chastise you
in person.
In person, yeah. On air. I'm just kidding. So, let's see. Crappy week. Why am I thinking this week was crappy? Oh, yeah. Look who made it.
Yeah, sorry, I had prior obligations.
Whatever. You were just feeding antihistamines to family members with really terminal freaking allergies.
No, actually, I promised Matt I played some video games with him, and we were.
Oh, you did Left 4 Dead. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's no problem.
We were doing Strudel gameplay because we haven't done that in forever.
I saw it. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's totally fine. Welcome back. Yeah. I don't know if you knew, so I'll just recap. James Yeager passed away today.
I saw that, and he got some sort of ailment when he volunteered over in Ukraine, and while I don't like how he did things and I don't like how he acted, I don't think he really deserved what he got.
No, not at all. I agree. 100%.
Was he the greatest person ever? No, but he was a lot better than a lot of other people.
He's a lot better than most.
Right. So
for sure.
But I was angry
his
when he
partner would beg to differ.
Yeah.
Wait, you talking about Reed Hendricks?
No. I was talking about his partner from when he was a sheriff.
Oh, well.
Ooh, yeah.
We're not going to speak ill of those who passed. Anyway.
Oh, I'm not above it.
I know. Anyway, crappy week. Why did I think this week was crappy? Number one, I missed out on an auction because by the time I was done taking my dad out for pizza and beer, boy, you want to talk about inflation? I went to a place this week where I've been going since I was 5 years old. When I was 5 years old, a slice of pizza and a Pepsi was $2. Yesterday, I took my dad out for pizza, wings, and beer, and the bill was $75.
Mhm.
Jesus.
Holy shit, right?
How many
So-
beers did you have?
6.
Mhm.
That might be why.
No, 3 apiece.
That still might be why.
Maybe. I don't know. Fuck it. Whatever. I had a great time. The wings were really good too. Oh, and this is a story that's 2 weeks old now, but for those of you who like buffalo wings, I know this is a super tangent, but there was a story that came out a couple weeks ago. If you like buffalo wings, now's the time to buy the chicken for the buffalo wings because it has lowered down to below pre-Kung Flu levels. So if you were used to buying that pack that's like 30 wings, at the grocery store and you make your own, that was like 12 or $15. It's cheaper now than it was then before
Hold up,
Kung Flu.
Hold up.
Huh.
We have a special guest in the war room, green room.
Oh no, he knew. Like I told him today. I filled in for you because you didn't show up to his show today.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. As I said,
It's okay. The whole intro was a shit show today because he tried to like blend 2 intros and neither one of them played right. And then
Yeah.
Tony got all bent out of shape because Olivia Wilde wasn't in the new video. It's
I
okay.
would get better on shape for that.
No, I'm already working on his new dancer video, and Tony's head's gonna probably pop off his shoulders when he sees who I picked.
Most likely.
Because I know
So-
my head would pop off.
Hey, there he is.
Halo?
There he is.
The
Nope.
shit show in the beginning was on purpose. He wanted me to. We were saying something about harmonizing or something, and I said that was a dumb idea, and then
Yeah.
I like purposely did it bad.
That was bad, dude.
Well, yeah, I waited for the whole first verse to kick in before I even started the second song. So
Oh, it's
yeah,
bad.
yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
They didn't even see the DeLorean. They saw the speedometer, though. Anyway, for those of you who don't know what the hell I'm on about, I did a video for Jimmy's intro for his show using the soundtrack that he recorded because I actually believe he has a talent for this. So I wanted to exploit the talent and make him do more for it. So we did a video where the first video that you've been seeing on his show is the first part of the video I recorded, where it was a lot like it was supposed to be sort of outlaw-ish, and it had like the clip of Easy Rider with the 2 riders, and then like the Dukes of Hazzard because it's 2 dudes in a car. Like I really put a lot of thought into that, right? And then it sort of blended into like the nightlife, and I had the dancing Olivia Wilde, and Tony hyper focused on just that. And I'm like, no. This was supposed to be a transition because the song felt very 70s biker bar to me. And I was like, no, that's why I did the intro the way I did it. But then I was like, let me just transition the audience into 2022, the future, right? So like the second half of the video that most people never got to see, which is very futuristic stuff, night driving, cruising. I called it Chumbas because a lot of the videos clips for the last half was based off of Cyberpunk 2077, and I thought that'd be really cool. I took you from 1977 to 2077 in one video. So like I carried a theme, and Tony couldn't figure that out because he was too focused on Olivia Wilde's bikini lines,
Well, that Andy's got old man brain.
I guess.
Pretty sure he's 1 foot in the door of dementia.
It's okay.
So what
when you
what
see
you're
the
saying
new
is-
girl,
what you're saying is you get the scene from The Wrestler?
yes. But anyway, when you see the new
I
when you
didn't
see
know
the
too many
new
people
girl-
were into that, Scotty.
when you see the new
I-
girl,
I
you're
guess.
gonna flip. And it ain't Gina Carano.
Good.
What a,
If
what a
wanted,
shame.
if I wanted to see balls in the intro, I would just.
Dude, you
videotape
gotta get
my-
off my fighting girl, man.
I'm just kidding.
So for
Like,
those of you
she's
who don't
got
know,
bigger
this
balls
is
than us.
This is Jimmy James from the Early Watch and the New Watch podcast. depending on what he
Same
wants to
shit.
call it this week.
Same difference. Yeah.
It's
When
the
Gina
same
Carano
thing.
has bigger balls than guys, there's a
Listen,
problem.
the only reason she's got them is because she has mine in her hand, okay? I'm just saying. If she's watching, hit me up. Hit me! Then hit me up. Whatever. I don't care. I like fighty girls.
Come on, hit me.
Hit
You
me.
like girls that beat you up, is what you're saying.
Oh, wait, you did the
Yeah.
Arnold thing. Come on, hit me.
Kill me.
Kill me.
Do it!
Oh, man.
It's not the tumor.
It is a tumor. All right, so I got the show prep set up this week a bit like the original format and a bit like the ones we've been doing the last 2 weeks. So you'll have to kind of bear with me because I've got it a little bit out of order. And the reason I say that is because the theme of today's show is actually based off of a story that came out from the Vatican. And here's the picture. And essentially what it is, so I'm going to start with day 191, today's story, but I'm going to go back a week based off of this story, because that's the theme of the day. Pope Francis described current international conflicts as the Third World War. The Pope made the comment during his usual general audience, where he acknowledged the anniversary of World War II's dramatic beginnings. For those of you who don't know, today is the anniversary of the official surrender of Japan on deck of the battleship Missouri. September 2nd, 1945. Just so you know. So anyway, he did this, I think, yesterday, and they covered the story today. So he says, tomorrow you will remember the anniversary of the outbreak of World War II, which has so painfully marked the Polish nation, the Pope says. May the memory of past experiences urge you to cultivate peace in yourselves and your families in social and international life. Regarding the ongoing invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces, the Pope said the war is only one in a much larger geopolitical conflict, according to the Vatican State media. The Pope referred to the current era as the Third World War, saying that the overarching conflict will most likely play out piecemeal, unlike previous global wars, according to Vatican media. The Pope encouraged listeners to pray for Ukraine and asked the Virgin Mary to intercede and support Ukrainians' daily choice of goodness, justice, and solidarity with those in need, generating hope, joy, and inner freedom in your hearts. Very Pope things to say, right? Very papal things to say.
Yeah, leave it to a Dago to over-exaggerate, though.
I mean, if we're gonna bash him, we can just call him the one-lunger, because that's all he's got. Because apparently he liked hookers and blow back in the day. Whatever. I mean,
Yeah, well,
think about what we came from. Benedict was a Nazi, and now we got this guy. It's like, what the hell?
well, yeah, I mean, don't be surprised, Sean, but sometimes in history, the popes weren't the most upstanding people.
Benedict,
No.
the one before him. But yeah.
Well, we also had one that worshipped the devil. We also had one that was also a Nazi, and we had a lot of stuff.
See, the problem, the solution is simple. Make Pwnery the Pope.
No.
I mean, if you're not going to make me emperor of the country or the world, just make me the Pope. That's easy. Because it's like,
Sean, you have to be Catholic.
no, you see, that's the best part. You had a Nazi. Now you've got a guy who had hookers and blow in one lung.
And we don't even talk about the Medicis.
Could you imagine Pope Pwnery, the atheist? Like, how? The world would not know how to handle that. They'd be like, wait a minute. We just made you in charge of, like, the biggest religious sect on earth? And you don't even believe? I'd be like, yeah. But it's okay. It's okay to have the message. Whatever gives you peace at the end of the day. Now pay me.
As long as you promise to make them Catholics tone it down a little bit, I'm fine with it.
I'm just like, yo, pay me. Okay? But you know that fucking 1939 Mercedes Kubelwagen limo that used to belong to Adolf Hitler that's in the Vatican vault? I'm rolling deep in that. Okay? That's all I'm saying. That's a pretty tight car.
That'd be a fun ride. Yeah,
So anyway, that aside, the reason I brought this up as the theme of the day is because for those of you who have watched The War Room since day one, you've heard me say this over and over and over. We are in a world war, whether you want to admit it or not. And that's the facts.
Now, just a quick clarification. So
Sure.
when you were reading the article from the Pope's quote,
Yes.
um, basically what he's saying is this is a war that's not gonna get physical. It's gonna be I didn't kind of catch that middle part.
Okay, so he said that this conflict is not likely to play out or it is most likely to play out piecemeal, unlike previous global wars. And I think what he's insinuating there is this is a proxy world war, because the only thing you can really compare this to is the Korean War and maybe the Vietnam War on a stretch, right? Because the
Right.
Korean War was basically the United States declared war on communism, and all of a sudden it was like North Korea wanted to side with communism, South Korea wanted to side with capitalism. Everyone chose sides. The Chinese and the Russians sided with the North Koreans, the United States and the rest of the world sided with the South Koreans. You had a proxy war. Everyone was feeding meat into this grinder, but they weren't officially. Well, no, actually, in Korea they were officially, because we did have American troops on the ground there. So I mean, even
and
that's a stretch for a
and
proxy war.
American tanks.
Yes, even
Hmm.
that is a stretch for a proxy war. So this is truly a proxy war in the sense that we don't have official battalions, boots on the ground. Scott pointed out, yes, we have specialists and spec ops people training people, and we say we're doing it in Poland and they're sending people across the border into Poland to receive this training. Let's not fucking kid ourselves, okay? We got guys in
They're in
country.
Ukraine.
We got guys
Yeah.
in theater. We're not stupid. We have them in theater under the guise of nationalist volunteers.
Yeah, but they're there as like strictly reactionary. They're not there to actually
I think they're
be
training
on
people.
offense. Oh yeah, right. Well,
Yeah,
that too, but
they're as military advisors.
Yeah.
what I'm saying though is they're not there to directly fight, right?
Uh. So okay. So the thing is
Maybe.
I thought that maybe
Maybe.
maybe they are, but then I thought, wait a minute. That means that fucking fat-faced fuck Steven Seagal is probably over there fighting for Russians because he
Oh
sides
shit!
with the Russians.
He's
I
too
didn't think
fat. He's too big of a target.
Exactly. So maybe he's just training people because he did train people before, right?
Yeah,
I
but
think
you
he
That
got to
brought
see
was
that up.
30 years ago.
in his recent movies though. I mean, he doesn't even have to stand up to whoop anybody's ass. So he's
No, he just flings chicken bones at them or whatever he eats that day.
you don't even need sights. He's just he's perfect.
Jesus. Oh, how far we've come from being a cook on the battleship Missouri. Jesus. Jesus. Oh, Jesus Christ. So anyway, because they, Pope Francis basically is late to the party because we've been telling him that for fucking 6 months. Uh, I wanted to bring it around the room today about how, or whether, first of all, whether or not you believe, yes, we are in a world war, and then what you think supports that theory if you agree with it. So, like, I'll start just because my theme. I believe we are, because if you are supplying the bullets to a country that's killing Russians, then you are provoking Russia because it's your bullets doing it, right? So you are if you're supplying the means of destruction to an enemy or to a ally that's fighting an enemy, then you are technically involved. You are munitions, logistics, however you want to spin it, you are involved. Made in USA is somewhere on those crates because we have pride and arrogance and we're just like, yeah, oh yeah, we sent those, right? And then on the same side, in the same token, Iran is proudly saying, hey, we're sending drones to Russia and they can use them. And don't worry, Scott, I have 2 stories on that. We will get into that and laugh heartily about it. We'll get there, promise.
Mhm.
So if you're supplying the weapons of war, and that means you chose a side, and you are a provocateur because you're feeding meat into the grinder in the form of munitions. If the media in the world is covering it, that means it has attracted the attention of the world and it is being covered by the world, which means the world is exposed to it. So, yeah, you're in a world war. If you're training people in other countries to fight in their country to kill another country's infantry, you're involved. So it's bullets, it's bandages, it's beans, it's whatever you want to call it. You're involved. So that
I
being
agree with. Oh, go ahead. I'm
oh,
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I agree with you, but I just if we're all on the same page about why, it ain't about helping Ukraine. It's where our involvement in it is to fuck Russia as much as possible.
Oh no, that's not entirely. That is
I
true.
kind of
and that
agree
isn't
with
true.
him. I kind of agree with him because the fact of the matter is, Russia brought this upon themselves.
Yes.
See, also, for those of you who didn't know, uh, the last leader of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, has died.
Mm.
He is considered an enemy to the state and a traitor to the Russian Federation, according to Vladimir Putin. Because Putin jerks off to a map of Soviet Union 1961, which is what
Oh
he's
yeah,
desperately trying to rebuild.
And Gorbachev let it go.
And Gorbachev let it go, right?
And he just had him murdered.
So when Jimmy says we're trying to fuck Russia, it's not that we intended to do that. When the Soviet Union fell, we embraced them. We said, "Welcome to civilized society. Come be
yeah.
a
You could
capitalist."
be with us. You could be with us now.
Exactly. You can be just like us. We're not telling you what to do. We're just glad you're doing it. And Putin was like, "No, I want the Stasi. I want 1961. I want the Iron Curtain. I'm not going to be around to see it."
Yeah, but it took him about 10 years to get into politics to be able to get there.
Well, no, but that's the thing. He's been in politics since I was in high school. That was 25 years ago. He has been
He wasn't
turning.
the first president of the Russian Federation, though, was he?
No. Boris Yeltsin, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Was Yeltsin the first one?
That
Yeltsin
weird
was.
fucking birthmark on his head.
No, that was Mikhail Gorbachev.
No, that's Gorby.
Oh, okay.
Yeltsin was the first elected president
Of the Russian Federation.
Yeltsin.
And then they promptly tried to overthrow him.
And he's dead now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Putin didn't attend that funeral either, did he?
No.
Because there's a pretty famous video of them shooting tanks at the Parliament building.
Is it safe to assume that Vladimir Putin is the Russian male version of Hillary Clinton? These people are dying.
She is the female version of Putin.
This is the last hurrah.
Okay.
In my opinion, I might be way off, but in my opinion, this is his last hurrah.
Yes.
There's a bunch of stuff at play. He's old. He's dying. But also, you got to think he's probably watching Russia, and like I don't want to not be a superpower. You know, he wants to still be up there. He still wants to be named as one of the superpowers.
But he was. That's the problem. He was.
He
was
was
treated like a little bitch.
No. Look at it like this.
He was a joke, Shawnee.
Like
when Trump was in office, he was a sidekick joke to Trump.
Yeah, but the thing is everybody was.
Yeah,
everybody was. Trump was the guy with his balls hanging out of his trousers when he walked into NATO.
But how many of them had the ego of Putin?
See, that's the thing. Putin didn't really show off an ego. He kept putting out these propaganda pictures of him riding a bear and going, being Action Man in a submarine, checking out shipwrecks and things. He tried to go the Austin Powers route. Like, look how cool I am.
Yeah, but it wasn't a meme to him. He was dead fucking serious.
He was dead serious. Yeah.
He was dead serious. Like, look at how powerful I am.
Look at me not wearing a shirt and my moobs hanging out. I was riding this horse. It's actually a tiny little fucking Shetland pony, but no, never mind. I look like I'm 10 feet tall.
Do it from up angle so it looks bigger.
Exactly. Like, you sit down and take this picture. You go to Gulag otherwise.
Lay in grass.
Anyway,
no, they still go to Gulag.
Funny. What's really funny?
You still go to Gulag, but you go to a nice one, not rape you in the ass one.
I keep giving Putin awesome
Slav
accent.
Send you to Siberia.
See, the problem is I keep giving Putin a really deep Slav accent, but he sounds just like George Patton. The real George Patton, not George C. Scott.
Oh, he's got a speaking voice.
He's a bit nasally.
The Americans.
He is a bit nasally. He's a bit whiny. I'm probably going to get hit by freaking shock troops in the middle of the night now with a Hind helicopter, but, whatever.
No.
Who said what? I sound like what?
Yeah. I'm going to discover a shipwreck. You're coming with me.
До свидания.
You
Fuck.
made the first move, America.
Right. No, actually, I mean, all joking aside, we came up with these different strategies of how can we end this war in Ukraine. And I think Scott and I came up with a great idea. It's either going to involve overdosing the Russian water supply or cloud seeding the Russian atmosphere with fentanyl.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as long as it ends
No,
with melting Russia,
I
you should be
I
fine.
had the better idea. I said, take a crop duster,
Yeah.
take fentanyl, mix it with some DMSO.
Yeah, so it goes into the skin easy, but that's like cloud seeding. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but you could do it over a very localized area.
And we can have the plane with a PA system fucking blaring fucking Purple Rain in Russian.
We can Waco them real quick.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, we'll just like spray paint AFT on the side of the plane too. It'll be great.
Set Russia on fire on accident.
Anyway,
Can we paint it black and red
Yes.
so they think it's Biden?
No, we'll paint it in the colors of the Chechen national flag,
Ooh.
or maybe the Polish national flag. Either way,
Oh, the
thing
Polish
that-
do have an axe to grind.
The thing that Jimmy brought up is a great point. Like I'm really glad you brought it up because they brought it upon themselves, first of all, right? Nobody told them to go start this war. Nobody told them to let this derelict of the Stasi try to drag the entire world into a war. Like nobody encouraged him to do that. If anything, everyone's like, stop fucking doing that. But he did it anyway, right? So we talked about this a little bit last week. Russia will lose because the world will not let him win. It's just a matter of how soon are we going to finally say what is going on. Because the minute you recognize that you're in a world war is the second that the world has to respond to stop it. And nobody wants to be the first one to do that. Nobody. Except the Pope, apparently. So
Except
apparently,
the Pope.
well, one thing's going to happen. If he makes this decree, and all of a sudden a bunch of Russians start dying, then apparently the Iscario 13 is real. And now I'm terrified. Now I'm terrified.
I'm not. I'm Catholic.
No, he's gonna send the
Alexander.
what's his personal guard?
Alexander Anderson.
Alexander Anderson. Yeah. Fuck. If that guy's real, I'm out.
What's the Pope's
If
personal
he's
guard?
real, he's on my side. So
The
I'm good.
Iscario 13. Oh, you're talking about the
No.
Swiss Guard?
It's scary.
The Swiss guard.
Scary at 13.
Nah, Swiss Guard wear fucking puffy pants like ballerinas and tights, and they still carry halberds.
The Swiss Guard are the
Yeah, but don't let
military
that
of the
funky
Vatican.
outfit fool
They
you.
have
Those
they
guys
have
are
more
hardcore.
military uniforms.
No,
They
they're
have
not.
more
They're
mil-
not the cool dudes
They're not
played
no.
by what's his name, Skarsgård from freaking Angels and Demons. Okay, that's not real. The Mercedes is real, for sure.
You
The
hope.
halberds are real. The fucking armory full of like
Puppy
SIG
uniform.
rifles.
That's probably
Real.
Questionable. Questionable.
No, that's real.
No,
No.
I'm sure the Vatican has that.
No.
At least.
No, they have Berettas. It's Italian. Come on. It's Italy.
No, they've got.
They have
everything.
anything they want.
Yeah, that's true. They got Nazi gold. They have Mercedes. They have Hitler's limousine.
They got lots of Nazi
I'm
gold,
sure they got a lot of
that they won't admit
Argentinian
to.
gold too. You know, that used to have.
which is
swastika
Nazi
gold.
gold.
You know,
Shh, we don't talk
most
about
of South America is Catholic too.
Anyway,
Well, how much of their influence do you think went away?
Well, the
in
thing
reality?
the thing I keep trying to get back to is Russia brought this upon themselves. And at the end of the day, when they lose, think about what they're about to lose. Okay? They embraced capitalism sort of when communism fell. They started having the most billionaires on earth with the oligarchs. Granted, corrupt government helped them get there, but whatever, right? Think about what they have to lose. They were slowly becoming a first world superpower, financially, or with the energy that they were exporting, or maybe even their assistance in the international space race, whatever. Think about everything they're about to lose. They're about to be dropped down to a second world nation because of sanctions and punishment, sort of like another Versailles Treaty. They're going to lose. Why do I keep forgetting the name of that place that they took over in Poland? Is that Kaliningrad? as war reparations, they're going to lose Kaliningrad, which is their one remote foothold off the mainland of Russia that they should have never had in the first place. They're going to lose Crimea. They're going to be pushed all the way back across, was it the Volga? Like all the territory that the Ukraine had. They're going to get all of that back, and the Russians are going to lose it. They're going to lose Kaliningrad. They're not going to be taken seriously with economic sanctions for probably 25 fucking years. Nobody's going to trust them geopolitically. Nobody's going to listen to them at any UN or NATO meeting. Like, those people are doomed. And it was all because of one asshole.
Well, in regards to that, what do you think about the theory that, and mind you, I don't think that this is very well put together anyway. Just heard about it.
Sure.
The theory that this is Putin's kind of version of suicide by cop.
Yes.
Like he wants to go out, but go out big.
Agreed. But he will stop short of nuclear Armageddon. He's already said as much. I don't know if I truly believe him, but so far, he could have launched 1,000 nuclear missiles by now. If he really was like, fuck them if they can't take a joke. Now, some of you know that quote. That's some Broken Arrow shit, right?
Yeah, but his back hasn't been really up against the wall yet.
Are
Like
you
not
kidding?
cornered animal yet.
Jimmy, read the
But-
scroller at the bottom of the
Yeah,
thing. Look how many
alright,
tanks they lost. Look how many soldiers they lost. 50,000 troops in
But
6 months.
64.
But his back, he's not worried about. You know, he's not up against the wall yet. People are.
Okay.
His army
He's
is.
fine. He's fine.
No, you might be right. It's like, oh, I've lost 50,000 troops, but I'm a nation of 800 million people.
They're still nowhere near touching me, so fuck them.
Maybe.
I don't have to press the button yet.
I don't know. For those
We'll
of you
see.
who haven't noticed, that picture today that I'm using, that is a protest. That is pro-Ukrainian, anti-Putin protest in Israel. You see the Yiddish on the building back there? There's a reason for that.
Jimmy speaks a little Yiddish.
Look, just because he does an impression and says "oy vey" and,
Oh,
talks
oh.
about shekels.
Only on the Sabbath.
Oh God.
Only on the Sabbath I speak
Only
the
on the
Yiddish.
Sabbath.
And just because he wants to go hook up and hang out with a mid, okay?
Yeah, well, I do too.
So do I,
I'm in.
because I want to find Gal Gadot's sisters, all of them. Harem time. Anyway, point is, the reason that picture's up there today is because Israel is planning on levying some nasty sanctions on Russia. And it's like, what could they do to Russia that would hurt them? That makes this story and that photo so important. Because that popped out today. And I'm like, what does Israel have on Russia? Do they have the knowledge that Russia never found Adolf Hitler's skull? Seriously, it's like, what does the Israeli government have that can hurt Russia via sanction? You have to wonder, like, what do they got? And why is Russia concerned about it? Because it's like, think about who's Russia's allies with right now. Iran. What does Iran want to do? Destroy Israel. Israel wants to sanction Russia. Russia's kind of sweating bullets right now because of it. It's like it's a Mexican standoff in Israel, isn't it? It's 3 different nations pointing guns at each other, and nobody's pulling the trigger yet. They're all just sort of holding each other off. Why?
No, Israel's got the upper hand.
Maybe?
You
How though?
forget
Why? Just because of their artillery?
No
No.
idea. Iron
Money?
Dome?
because they
Technology?
have the Mossad.
Is it
Mossad.
money,
The Mossad is
technology?
very good at accumulating information.
I need a
people.
mitt in this show right now.
I could see
Also,
them though having like little Mossad agents sprinkled around everywhere, and getting intelligence from all different kind of countries.
You
you know,
just
the
you
Epstein
just
Mossad
was
are
They
from
do.
also
Who
Mossad.
do you
very
think feeds us a lot of our intelligence in the Middle East?
you said
Mossad are
that
Yeah,
also
like
very good at tracking
geopolitical
down
Salt
Nazis.
Bay would just sprinkle them across the world.
yeah, right off his
They
elbow
do.
into Israel or out of Israel and into Poland.
Mossad
How do you
Bay.
think Israel knows just who to kill in Iran when they start want to fucking with their nuclear program?
That's because we tell them.
Mm-hmm.
No, because Israel already knows.
No.
They make
One,
it their business to
either we
know.
told them or they told us, and we said go for it.
They told us, and
Yeah,
we said okay.
because we send in spies like Team America World Police.
Jesus Christ.
How many times has Putin been to Epstein's Island? No one's asking these questions.
No, no.
No, he's got that really hot ballerina chick or whatever in Paris or whatnot.
I have my own little girls.
Yeah, he's got his own island. I think it's called Sevastopol. No, it's called Crimea. No, it's called most of Russia anyway.
It was called Crimea until the Ukrainians took it back.
All right, so I want to get into some of the stories why I think that we're already in the thing that nobody wants to call it. Okay?
No,
Does that sound cool?
we know we are, but
Nobody wants to say it. But I have
Nobody
supporting
wants to say it,
evidence.
right.
I have supporting evidence. I took the time to do this today. So this is the elements of the original show where I would show you some stories and we can bring it around the room. We'll talk about it. And then
Okay.
whether you agree or disagree, you're more than welcome to say so. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take you back now to Saturday, which is day 185. So we started at 191, which is today. We're going to go back just a little bit because week in review type thing, right? So the first picture I have for you is this one, and it's from Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning. Ukraine's nuclear company, Energoatom, on Saturday said that there is an increased risk of a dangerous hydrogen or radioactive leak at Zaporizhia's nuclear power plant after it was damaged by shelling in recent weeks. Sidebar: what do we need for hydrogen fuel cell cars like the Clarity and the Toyota Mirai instead of these stupid fucking laptops on wheels? Pure hydrogen gas and then compressed, liquefied, so you could put it in hydrogen fuel cell cars and the world would be energy independent. Because one little fucking engine that has one moving part the size of a watermelon produces enough electricity with no stupid batteries to power 9 houses. Think
Yeah, but
about
what
that.
happens if it crashes?
Nothing. Nothing. Because it's the same danger you would have having a gasoline powered car. You build a frame around the tank that doesn't get compromised. End of story. Either way, they're saying that there is a dangerous hydrogen leak possible. That means we can get hydrogen as a byproduct from nuclear fission. Just a thought. And yet the world won't embrace nuclear energy. Another slightly green energy source. Yes, there's nuclear waste, but the benefits outweigh the waste compared to lithium batteries.
It's funny you should mention that nuclear waste because they've now figured out how to make really really long lasting batteries out of that nuclear waste.
Yes. I mean, we're getting closer to fallout, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, as a result of periodic
Battle
shelling...
Anchorage.
Yes. Not until I have power armor. As a result of periodic shelling, the infrastructure of the power plant has been damaged. There are risks of hydrogen leakage and sputtering of radioactive substances, and the fire hazard is also high. This came from the nuclear agency in their statement. Shelling on or near the
Zaporizhia.
Thank you. They actually hyphenated it this time. They call it ZNPP to keep it simple. Has increasingly threatened Ukraine's nuclear security in recent weeks, and officials have warned that damage to Europe's largest nuclear plant could prompt a catastrophe greater than the 1986 Chernobyl disaster. That's correct. Chernobyl had 1 reactor go up. This has 6, and they're all lined up like fucking like dominoes. They're all side by side by side by side. Whereas in Chernobyl, at the time of the disaster, there was 2 reactors, maybe 4, but they're spread out. Not in this place. They're all lined up. You blow one, they're all right there next to each other. What do you think's going to happen? Anyway, let's see. Where did I leave off? Oh, yeah. Earlier this week, 2 of the plant's reactors were disconnected from the power grid when power lines were damaged by the shelling and emergency protection systems were triggered. Ukrainian workers who have continued operating the site despite Russia's occupation since March were able to restore a stable power supply to the plant Saturday and reconnected it to the nation's power grid. Ukraine and Russia have laid the blame on one another for damage caused to the nuclear power plant, but Kyiv and the international community have argued that the threat of nuclear catastrophe remains so long as Russian forces continue to occupy the Ukrainian nuclear plant. Due to the presence of the Russian military, their weapons, equipment, and explosives at the plant, there are serious risks for the safe operation of ZNPP. The nuclear agency said Russian forces have, quote, increased the pressure on Ukrainian staff operating the site to prevent them from disclosing any evidence about the crimes of the occupiers at the plant and its use as a military outpost. Why is it a nuclear outpost? Anyway. Reports on Saturday began to surface that Russian troops have tortured the plant's personnel ahead of the International Atomic Energy Agency's visit as the UN looks to secure the site. Ukraine calls on the world community to take immediate measures to force Russia to liberate the ZNPP and transfer the power plant to the control of our country for the sake of the security of the entire world. So, let me get this straight. Sovereign nation wanted to be left the fuck alone, was under threat by Russia way back in 2014. Sovereign nation begs the UN, NATO. NATO, the Russians are coming, God damn it, the Russians are coming. Can you please help us? We would love to join NATO and be part of the civilized world and enjoy the benefits of being part of a union that protects one another. NATO turns around and goes, it's cool that you came and reached out to us and all, but see, we got a really hard time trusting you because you speak the language of communism. And you're going to have to bend over backwards and show us your chocolate starfish in ways that other countries don't have to do that. And the only way we can think of making you do that is you have to give up all your nuclear arsenal. And the Ukrainians were like, well, we don't really have any. We only have whatever the Russians left behind because we already did this back in 2012. We got rid of whatever we already had because we didn't have a use for it.
And it was much earlier than that. It was like 94.
I think you're right. I think it's actually before. Yeah, you're right. It's way back.
It was Clinton. It was Clinton that told them to.
Yeah.
And they agreed to it.
And they agreed.
They went with it. And then in 2012, that's why the Russians started acting up. And when the Russians
they planted their stuff there,
their government out, they
inherited what the Russians left behind.
Yeah.
So then NATO was like, yeah, you're gonna have to get rid of all that too. And the Ukrainians are like, what assurances do we have that you're gonna let us in if we do this? Because this is the only deterrent we have left keeping them out of our country. And NATO's like, don't worry, bro. You take care of that, we'll fly you right on in. So Ukraine goes, okay. Don't take too long, though, because as soon as they know we got rid of these, they're going to march right across the border. And sure as shit, they did. And they took over Crimea, didn't they? Fast forward until 6 months ago. And what happened? Russia intends to attack Ukraine. Russia spends almost a year building forces all around the country of Ukraine by occupying neighboring countries. Belarus. Moldova. And, the western border of Russia. You could see them building an army day after day on satellite. And we're like, the world was watching the buildup going, man, that's pretty big for a military, quote, exercise and war game. Are we sure that they're not trying to invade this country? And NATO's like, no, it's cool, dude. They're fine. And Ukraine turns around and goes, hey, do you guys see what's going on over here? We've been trying to get in for the last 8 years. We did what you asked, and they fucking invaded us. Can you come help us now? And NATO goes, I don't know. You see, Russia's already part of our little boys club, and we really don't want to piss them off because, they have that history of being a Cold War nation with a huge nuclear arsenal. We really don't want to provoke that. And Ukraine's like, then why the fuck am I trying to join you? Because we'll protect you, bro! Ukraine's like, well, get us in! Meanwhile, they get invaded. They get attacked. They've been having to defend their country for the last 6 months. Sweden and Finland are watching this going, ooh, we share a 900-mile border with that country. Hey, NATO, can we get in on this protection action? 4 fucking weeks later, they're in.
Well,
4
hold on,
weeks. Actually, if you cut all the red tape out, they got in 10 fucking days.
Finland on the one hand, they've got a history fighting the Russians or the Soviet army, whichever you want to.
Ukraine has been fighting the Russians for the last 8 years.
Yes, but Finland actually had a war. You remember the Winter War?
Ukraine is currently in a war.
Yeah.
With the Russians.
Finland is afraid they're going to attack them next.
Okay.
It goes back to what he wasn't paying attention. It goes back to what you say about NATO and Russia.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, I kind of go a little bit left on the conspiracy theories there every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
And I really could see NATO and Russia being on the phone together laughing about this shit. Like, yeah, we're going to get them to give us all their nuclear weapons. You guys should be able to go in there in about a month or so.
Yeah. I mean, think about it like this. Finland has a 900-mile border with Russia. Ukraine has a 1,500-mile border with Russia. Who had the bigger threat? 1,500 fucking miles.
So I'm saying, if you look at all of this logistically, it makes absolutely no sense, except for NATO and Russia kind of were a little bit
They're fucking
in it
each
together.
other.
Yeah.
They're the ones finger banging one another at the fucking block party in the broom closet.
Pleasurably fucking each other.
Yeah, and Ukraine's the one trying to hold capitalism's hair out of the toilet while they're puking. That's what it is. It's a good analogy, huh?
Yeah, they're getting fucked for it though.
Yeah, they are.
They are having that stupid designated driver night, aren't they?
Yeah. So next story to sort of back this up. I call this nuclear century. Same day, about an hour later, Ukrainian workers at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant have said Russian soldiers occupying the plant are torturing them to keep them silent ahead of the visit from the UN nuclear watchdog. The IAEA has pushed for weeks to gain access to the site, as shelling has threatened the integrity of the plant's infrastructure and Europe's nuclear security. It remains unclear when the IAEA will arrive at the plant, but Director General Rafael Grossi said Friday he hopes that the mission will be very soon and is attempting to secure a visit to the site within the next few days. But according to a Telegram post by the Energoatom, referencing, I'm not pronouncing that right, by the way, referencing an interview the plant's workers gave the Telegraph, there is an atmosphere of fear at the station as they nervously await IAEA's arrival. Plant workers have reportedly been arrested by Russian soldiers and taken to the basement where, quote, conversations are then held. Is this the same kind of conversations where they were talking about, what do they call them? Sterilization camps or whatever? Anyway.
I don't think we're talking about that.
I forgot what
they probably them. They talk to them through a rag while they're pouring water over it.
Exactly.
I think maybe.
Details surrounding what has occurred in the basement have remained nil, as those detained have reportedly refused to discuss what happened with their Ukrainian colleagues, because they're scared shitless of them. The ZNPP employees suspect that Russia plans to reduce the number of Ukrainian plant workers when possible during the IAEA visit, and place several Russian representatives in each room of the control center. It is also believed that Russian officials are preparing to politicize the visit and plan to, quote, shout loudly that they have been waiting for liberation from the regime in Kyiv, according to a telegram post by the Ukrainian nuclear agency. Zaporizhia's plant workers have suggested Russia will use the visit as an excuse to increase provocations on the plant and then blame Ukraine. Officials have been sounding the alarm that the fallout from damage to Europe's largest nuclear power plant could create a catastrophic problem not only for Ukraine, but for the European continent. Energoatom on Saturday said that the damage to ZNPP's infrastructure has already increased the risks of hydrogen leakage and the sputtering of radioactive substances. Ukraine's nuclear agency called for the immediate measures from the international community to, quote, force Russia to liberate the plant and to take over control for their country for the sake of the security of the whole world. So there's a little bit of overlap there, but there always is. You, sir, are a bit too late. I can't add you in while we're halfway through this.
I mean,
No. Anyway, fast forward to Monday, and we're going to cover nuclear power plants. Again, shocker, right? It seems to be on the lips of everyone. So anyway, several European countries are now rolling back plans to shut down their nuclear power plants as Russia severely limits the supply of oil and natural gas to the continent, according to a new report. So basically what they're saying is look, we were dependent on Russian energy imports, but there's no way we can do that now because they just cut the taps off. So this is how fickle the Green New Deal is on a global scale, because they can't keep the lights on. They were trying to save Johnny Polar Bear because they were using Russians' oil and Russians' natural gas. But when they pull those away, all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, now we have to fend for ourselves. I guess we're going to have to spin up our nukes again. Oh darn. Right? So anyway, Russia has cut off supply as a countermeasure against Western economic sanctions over Russian President Vladimir Putin's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Germany was scheduled to close all of its reactors by the end of the year, but is now debating whether to keep them open into next year or even longer. Belgium, meanwhile, was planning to close 2 reactors by 2025, but will now keep them open through 2036, according to the Republic. Poland and others are also planning to build new reactors. Beyond the throttling from Moscow, the reactors are also proving to be critical in meeting the UN's climate goals. Nuclear energy is the cleanest and most efficient energy source currently available, though disasters at some plants have caused some to fear the method. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has also suggested that his country plans to build new, smaller reactors in an effort to meet clean energy goals. Japan had previously shut down most of its reactors following the 2011 disaster at the Fukushima nuclear power plant. In order to overcome our imminent crisis of a power supply crunch, we must take our utmost steps to mobilize all possible policies in the coming years and prepare for any emergency. Kishida said this during a Green Transformation conference last week. Kishida's administration said that the country would develop new safety standards before moving forward with construction. The most problematic part of nuclear energy production is the safe disposal of spent fuel rods, which remain highly radioactive for hundreds of thousands of years. That was the concern that you brought up before. So, in short, they didn't want to burn coal and natural gas and oil if it was their own. So then they would import Russian natural gas and oil and probably coal to power their plants, but they were paring back their nuclear power plants, which, okay, yes, the fuel rods are radioactive, but the only byproduct aside from that is water vapor from the cooling towers, and it produces multitudes of megawatts of energy for what little fuel is used and what little waste is produced. One also has to ask, given the evolution of the development of nuclear weapons technology and nuclear reactors used in warships that have gotten more powerful and a whole lot smaller, had they put the same amount of research and development efforts into advancing nuclear energy production, don't you think they would have figured out a better way to do it by now? I mean, a lot of the nuclear power plants in the United States are old, right? They're aging units. They were built in the 50s and 60s and 70s and maybe a couple in the 80s. That means the newest nuclear power plant's, what, 40 years old? Are you meaning to tell me that they haven't advanced the technology of a nuclear power plant in 40 years? They haven't made
No,
it smaller, faster, and more efficient?
we're
Bullshit.
building nuclear power plants all the time over here.
Are we really?
Yes, we
Did
are.
you look
actually.
at the list of the current nuclear power plants that are online right now as opposed to how many are being built? That's a very short list. We're not building 100 of these things. I think there's
No,
only like 50 or
not,
60 in the entire country.
we're building new ones though. We are building new ones though.
They're planning on building new ones. They're not going to go online for 30 years. Like once they have you ever seen how they build one of these things? They build it, then they inspect it, and then they test it, and then they register it, then they verify it, and then they, by the time it's built until the time it goes online, 15 to 20 years goes by. Like you can even check the Wikipedia articles on all the nuclear power plants in the United States. Completed 1948, went online 1964. What? You built it in 48 and you didn't turn it on until 64? What the fuck were you doing for the last 20 years? They're still doing it that way. I mean, think about the idiots who are in charge of us right now. These are the people who justified $20,000 toilet seats.
We don't talk about them.
These are the people who allowed an entire country to go bankrupt during Kung Flu. Huh? These are the people who actually approved nuclear power plant production. Anyway, we're talking about Europe right now, right? These guys decided we're going to save Johnny Polar Bear. Wind and solar and hydroelectric. Great. What do you do when the lights go out or the wind don't blow? Or Lake Mead dries up? Then what do you do? Oh, we got to fall back on our on good old standards. Well, yeah, but you shut them all down. Oh, it's okay. We can fire them back up again. Well, that means your moral compass has a broken fucking needle that just goes wherever you want it to when you need it to. Right? That's kind of what we're saying, isn't it? Just a thought. Anyway, they're going back to nukes. We're going back to embracing the atom. We should have never left it. That's the whole point. Nope. These things... Okay. These things were provided in nature, right? We have found uranium in the ground. Let's use it. It was there for a reason. It didn't hurt anybody before somebody found it, which means you should be able to store it or dispose of it or clean it up or find another use for it, repurpose it, whatever. Like, you put a man on the moon, for God's sakes. Don't you think you would know what to do with the shit you leave behind? I made this joke about why don't we ship all our garbage to the sun and let it incinerate. Do you know why we don't do that? I know that some of you say it's because if there's something that happens in space, it's going to rain all over us, right? Fair point. Well made.
Too expensive.
Well, let me give you this theory. Maybe we don't rocket things off the planet to incinerate into the sun because we keep it like hoarders thinking, well, maybe someone will figure out what to do with this shit after we throw it away. And if we burn it up somewhere off planet, there's nothing left for them to figure out what to use. You core out the planet and there's nothing left behind and you all die off because you wasted everything. Maybe we hang on to it.
Well, it's also a matter of how much does it cost to launch shit into space by the pound?
Yeah, but okay, that's the thing though. Cost is a construct that we put on it, right? Like if we, let's say that movie Armageddon was a reality, okay? Let's say there was a giant asteroid and it was going to hit Earth and there was no way to get it to veer off. And we knew it was coming and it's going to be here in 50 years. Do you honestly think that humanity would sit there and try to nickel and dime each other while they're trying to figure out how to get the fuck off the planet before it's too late? No.
Yeah, we'd just build the biggest fucking nuke we ever have.
No, what I'm saying is like, if humanity was facing annihilation, humanity would come together to solve the problem before they all got killed. They wouldn't put a price
No.
tag on it. They'd be like, look, we got to get off here. We're all going to die. This money's going to be meaningless if there's nobody left alive to spend it.
We don't have the technology to get off the rock. That's the problem.
Yep.
Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, right?
Yeah. And can you seriously consider that we can get enough people off planet
Oh, you're
to be
talking
able
about
to
en
actually
masse. You're talking about en masse.
sustain the human race
No,
genetically?
and that's the problem, because we have spent decades since the landing of the moon just bickering and fighting amongst ourselves when we could have been using all that energy and effort towards, hey, we could have colonized the moon by now. Or, hey, we could have
Right.
turned the moon into a gas station so we can colonize Mars by now. We have
Mhm.
wasted so much of human effort just infighting. We've wasted so much time electing dipshits like Joe Biden to run the country. Or allowing people like Vladimir Putin to run roughshod all over Eastern Europe. Like, why do we don't have enough intelligence to stop this bullshit all the time? That's the problem. Not individually, collectively, you know? It's like, what was that saying in Men in Black? Individuals are talented and
A
beautiful and
person
wonderful
is
people.
smart. A
Yes.
person is smart. People are stupid.
People are
Well,
stupid, fickle little creatures.
also, if I could throw one out there, together apes strong.
That's
Hmm?
only when we're doing stock market.
No, you never seen Planet of the Apes,
Yes.
motherfucker, where he fucking broke the sticks.
I was making a Reddit joke. It went over your head.
Yeah, I'm not. I stopped going on the Reddit. I
Anyway.
felt my IQ going down.
Anyway, so I was talking about the hypocrisy of the energy thing, right? It's like all of a sudden nuclear makes sense and wind and solar and hydroelectric is like, shut the fuck up. We need power now. That's what they're saying over there. That's what we're saying here. Like, you live in Nevada, right? You're not too far away from Lake Mead. Lake Mead powers most of the south part of the state, part of northern Arizona, and a little bit of eastern California, if I'm not mistaken.
A
Hmm.
lot of California.
You have seen the water levels. You've seen the fact that the lift pumps can't even grab the water anymore in some of those places. They're not generating shit anymore.
Yeah, I was down there today, actually, and you want to hear something funny? They're paying people. Somebody got $10,000 already. They're paying people $5,000 a body. If you could find a body in Lake Mead, they're gonna pay you $5,000. The only catch is that you have to have, like, I guess there's a certain checklist of equipment that you have to have,
You have to have an alibi
including
too.
You
a
have to have an
boat,
alibi.
a boat, a winch, that type of shit. But
It's
yeah,
like, wait a minute, you're part of the Gambino crime family. You can't come over here and show us where you found these bodies. You put them there.
yeah,
I
your grandpa put this one here.
Yeah. What do you need $5,000 for? Your fucking grandfather was a billionaire.
Well, yeah, they're not gonna come down. It's the guy that came down here was somebody that lived in a little small town, and yeah.
All I'm saying is when the tail of that B-29 comes out, I'm gonna claim salvage rights to it. It's mine.
You got to catch it.
Yeah.
There's people. I went over there today. There's people out there in boats.
Waiting for that?
Just no, they're trying to get bodies out of there. Five
Yeah.
grand a pop.
Yeah. It's turned into like an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
pretty funny.
It's kind of pathetic that humanity would go do that, though. But you know what? Humanity participates in gun buyback programs, too. That just shows how stupid we are.
Well, I mean, come on, the 5 grand a body. I was kind of looking at prices of boats myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is digging holes out in the desert too tedious now?
it's a lot of work, man. I'm getting older.
Damn. All right, let's move on to Tuesday. This is day 188. This story came at early, like 7 o'clock in the morning for me. And it's called You're Fired. Now, you know exactly what picture I'm referring to when I say that.
Oh yeah, Vinnie Mac.
Yeah. Russian President Vladimir Putin has sidelined Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu as the invasion of Ukraine enters its 7th month, according to a report
Jesus
issued
Christ.
Monday by the UK Ministry of Defense. I tell you what, you want to talk about really good spy network? UK Ministry of Defense. Those guys come up with shit every day on Russia. Like, they're good. Bond is still alive and well. Anyway, operational commanders are now briefing the Kremlin directly on progress in Ukraine, with Shoigu now forced to take a back seat. Russian officers and soldiers with first-hand experience of the war probably routinely ridiculed Shoigu for his ineffectual and out-of-touch leadership as Russian progress has stalled. Shoigu has likely long struggled to overcome his reputation as lacking substantive military experience, as he spent most of his career in the construction sector and the Ministry of Emergency Situations. He built gulags. Shoigu, who is originally from the Tuva region of Russia in southern Siberia, gained national popularity in the 1990s and 2000s as the Minister of Emergency Situations by personally visiting the sites of natural disasters and terrorist bombings. Putin chose him to be the defense minister in 2012, despite the fact that he had no military background or combat experience. If you look at who was in the minister roles in 1999 and are still around now, there are only two names. One is Shoigu, the other is Putin. U.S. Defense Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin spoke with Shoigu in May and urged an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine, according to the Pentagon. Putin ordered a sharp increase of troops by 137,000 to a total fighting force of 1.15 million last week, in an effort to replenish losses after 6 months of this war. Russian forces have captured nearly all of Luhansk and are trying to gain control of Donetsk, which are the two regions that make up the eastern Donbass. Fighting has also coalesced around southern Ukraine in recent weeks, with increased focus on Crimea, the peninsula that Russia annexed in 2014. So, Shoigu, you've probably seen pictures of Putin sitting at this very long table with two generals at the other end, like 60 feet away. Shoigu is one of those two. Shoigu has now been relieved of duty, pretty much, because he has no military experience. I mean, he's the kind of guy who walks in and says, "I'm not a gynecologist, but I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express last night." That's the kind of guy.
So what
That's what they got.
was he there for in the first place then? It's like somebody's cousin or something?
He's the defense minister.
That's what I mean. Like, how does he even get to where he's at with
Because
no
he has
experience?
he has very good knee pads and very soft, supple lips, just like Kamala Harris.
Do my teeth come out, comrade?
He's pretty old, so yeah, okay. So number 2 in command of the military, booted. So now it's field commanders that are giving direct updates to Putin, which is a bit scary, because if you think about it, now all of a sudden Putin's getting all the stories that everyone else was too afraid to tell him. Like, he's getting field commanders
Or
going,
did he replace that guy with somebody else to handle everything?
well, it hasn't been officially announced yet. So far, it's just Russian officers and field commanders are reporting in directly now. Because they used to report to Shoigu and that other guy. The other guy has been quiet for months. Shoigu disappeared, if you remember. We brought it up, I think, back in like the second month of this war. He vanished for like 4 weeks.
According to them, he had a heart attack.
Why was he like filtering the information a lot, or what? What was going on? Oh, okay.
He's a yes man.
Yeah.
That's how he got the job. He's always been a yes
Nothing
man.
is wrong. Everything's perfect.
Everything's
that type of.
fine.
Yeah,
Rifle is fine. Ukraine's fine.
He's fine.
Gotcha.
He's fine. Move on.
Putin's like, where's all my fucking tanks? I don't know. They're fine.
They're fine.
Definitely not blown up.
Not blown up.
Like, could you imagine Putin is sitting at that 60-foot long table and he's like, "Comrade, this morning I watched news about Ukraine. I'm waiting to see T-14 Armata going cross battlefield. I see T-54. What the fuck?" Shoigu's like, "Oh, maybe that was the History Channel." Maybe the news was showing something from the History Channel.
Maybe you're watching the History
Putin's like
Channel?
slamming his fist on the table going, "Where are my armatas?" Shoigu's like, "Do I tell him we only built 10? No, you don't tell him that. He's like, "No, T-54 is paving way for Armata to pass through."
Why do you think they're not flying the Su-57s over Ukraine?
Because they only have like 14 of them.
And half that number
Half of
are
them don't work.
literally, yeah, exactly.
Half of them don't work. Half of the remaining half aren't completed.
Yep. Half of them don't have weapon systems.
HVS, spot on assessment, actually. He just
The
described.
Russians always do what they do.
I'm
They
not gonna
lie.
say it. I'm not gonna say it out loud. But if you read the chat, he kind of nailed it.
I'll look.
Like what the Russian government and yes men are sort of like. Well done, sir.
Oh, Jesus.
I salute you.
Wow.
Anyway, moving on to Wednesday, day 189. And I called this one out of ammo. High noon, August 31st. The U.S. military's support for Ukraine has significantly depleted its ammunition stores, according to a Tuesday report. Some U.S. defense officials say that reserves of some munitions are, quote, uncomfortably low. And they are concerned that the military's readiness for unexpected threats could be hampered by the shortage, according to the Wall Street Journal. Motherfucker, we've been dealing with a primer shortage for like 6 years. Fuck you. The report comes roughly a week after President Biden announced an additional $3 billion in defense aid for Ukraine. Earlier in August, the Pentagon sent what was then its largest yet package to Ukraine, a $1 billion injection of high-mobility artillery rocket systems, HIMARS, and tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition and more. Past U.S. security donations for Ukraine has included weapons, equipment, and medical supplies, things that meet the immediate need of combat against Russian forces. Wednesday's package will reportedly focus on bolstering the country's security infrastructure. U.S. security donations for Ukraine have included weapons, equipment, and medical supplies, things that meet the immediate need of combat against Russian forces. Last week's $3 billion package will focus on bolstering the country's security infrastructure, however. That just sounds like they repeated the same thing twice. Anyway.
Yes, they did.
They did. The low supply comes as tensions between China, Taiwan, and the U.S. continue to escalate. The Chinese military has held live-fire drills surrounding the self-governed island for weeks, apparently simulating an invasion. A steady stream of U.S. lawmakers has visited the country, starting with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in early August. Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee was the most recent visit, making the trip last week. So let me get this straight. The United States civilian population has been bled dry with ammo shortages and reloading supply shortages for 6 years plus. And now all of a sudden the military is like, we're running low on ammo. What do we do? Welcome to our world, you fuckers. We've had the same problem.
I don't think they're running low on ammo.
They're not. They're running low on the amount of ammo they want to give up.
Yes.
For every bullet we send Ukraine, we've saved ourselves 100. Maybe 1,000. Yeah. Maybe 1,000.
Because all that spending they did under Obama, buying tens of billions of rounds of ammunition.
Talking about all that 22 LR during the shortage that they're hiding behind Mount Rushmore?
No, that's in behind the head.
Yeah. National Treasure. Book of Clintons. I don't know. Anyway.
Aren't they making another one?
If they do, it's probably too late. It's going to be woke bullshit. Let's be honest.
I don't know. Nick Cage is kind of crazy. He may not allow that shit.
Yeah, he did drink beer out of the skull of his defeated enemy in one movie. That was kind of cool.
Apparently, 2024.
Well,
anyway,
Nick Cage's character is going to be replaced with a black lesbian.
Condoleezza Rice?
Transgender lesbian.
It's going to be Condoleezza Rice. Wait, no, it'll be the recently released Brittany Griner.
Be Lizzo.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure Brittany Griner is a tranny.
Damn. No, I thought Lizzo was going to play that. What was that dude played by John Leguizamo in the fucking Spawn movies?
Pest.
There you go.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
that
the cloud demon. Yeah.
That's Lizzo's part. I still want to know what she meant by "you need to pass laws that's going to help us." She never said who us was.
Well, you got to think about it. The bitch is so big; she takes up 5 seats on the airplane. So,
But
she's probably
Needs her own row.
for those
she is Legion. You know,
for those of you who don't know, Lizzo is a Houston native singer. She's quite famous now. She's very popular. Apparently she's got a set of pipes that people just fucking love. And she was at the VMAs, and she came in this amazingly tailored dress that I can't remember how you described it, but it was weird. And she's a bit of an exhibitionist. She likes to show off her form. She is genuinely obese. I'm not going to be cruel. She's just genuinely an obese woman. She's a big girl.
the picture you sent me looked like a close up of the Loch Ness monster photo.
Well, she's a big girl and she likes showing off her body, and she keeps trying to browbeat society into accepting that this is normal and you just have to live with it. It's like, look, we're not the ones who have to live with hypertension and the threat of your heart exploding. That's something you need to deal with.
Or
then
diabetes.
But then
Yeah.
then she goes up on stage and she accepts her award and she says, the government needs to pass more laws to protect us. And like everyone stood up and applauded. And I'm like, you fucking stupid lemmings. Do you even know what us means? Does she mean fat people? Does she mean black people?
Yep.
Does she mean exhibitionists? Does she mean people who like to wear things that don't look like clothes? Like, she didn't specify, and yet everyone embraced it, like, with huge applause. I'm like, why are you idolizing this? She was vague as fuck.
Is she just simply talking about her left and right side? Like she wants laws passed for herself?
Nobody knows. But see, nobody will ever question it, because then you'll be a racist or a misogynist or a fat shamer or whatever the fuck they want to call you that day.
Fatophobic.
This is why we are where we're at right now, because people are just afraid to speak common sense. And
I don't
what
like
really pisses me off? I fucking
What?
hate the fact that government and politicians now are turning my phrase of common sense into a dirty byword. Like, no, that was my idea. You guys shut the fuck up and stop using it because you're touching it inappropriately. Like, common sense gun control laws, common sense legislation. It's like, you people lack the word you're using. That word, it doesn't mean what you think it means.
Hey, what you mean, you people?
These people are inconceivable. Inconceivable.
I do not think that word means what you think it means.
It definitely doesn't, especially the word common sense, because they always write it like it's one
No.
fucking word.
I
It's
have to go
two.
with the. You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Do you
No one
understand the words
understands.
that are coming out of my mouth?
No one understands words coming out of your mouth.
No, the best line in that one was no. Because if it was a bomb, this place is equipped with bomb detectors, and don't you think one of them go off? And all of a sudden they all go off.
No, it's Corbin. He always starts out like that.
Corbin, my man.
Yep.
I need fire. I ain't got no matches. I need fire. God, I love that movie.
If I'd known, I wouldn't have quit smoking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, to quit is my goal. Those cigarettes were like 90% filter. Fuck that.
Yep. You got like 3 drags off it.
I think he took one big one.
Yeah, Corbin did, but everybody else was like 2, 3 drags.
Yeah.
Because Corbin's badass, you know?
Confucius say it can't rain every day. Let me see. I bet you lunch.
You fired.
You fired. Well, hey, at least I won lunch. Ah, see good and bad.
No, it's like, like your philosophy, see good and bad.
Damn it. All right, here we go. Next story. Same day, 1 o'clock, so about an hour later. Have I ever read Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal? I may have in college, because that does sound incredibly familiar. Sorry, I've branched off from my psychology and sociology days, so anyway. So this is called, Does This Look Familiar to You? Russia has reportedly picked up its first batch of Iranian-made combat drones that it intends to use on the battlefield during its ongoing invasion in Ukraine. U.S. officials say that Russian cargo planes departed Iran on August 19th, carrying at least 2 types of combat-capable drones. The Mohajer 6 and Shahed series drones are believed to be the first of many shipments from Iran to Russia as part of the Kremlin's plan to increase its drone or attack drone capability in the war with Ukraine. The deal between the two nations was reportedly negotiated over several months and included Iranian technical experts traveling to Russia to help set up systems, as well as Russian military operatives traveling to Iran for training. While the drones could provide Russia with a boost on the battlefield, U.S. officials reportedly said that Iranian drones have been the source of headaches and technical issues for the Russians. There's a few bugs in the system, an unnamed official told the Washington Post. The Russians are not satisfied. Washington Post reported that Russia has 1,500 to 2,000 military surveillance drones as part of its Ukraine campaign, but does not possess any combat-capable drones. On the other side, Ukraine has been deploying Turkish-made combat drones that have been effective against Russian targets. On Tuesday, Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov dismissed the Washington Post report as fake. Rebecca Koffler, a former U.S. DIA intelligence officer, focused on Russia and the author of Putin's Playbook, Russia's Secret Plans to Defeat America, and said that it's not clear why the Kremlin is denying the report, but what is clear is that Peskov is untrustworthy. That's like fucking he said, she said bullshit. It is possible that Putin's control of what Peskov says in terms of denying drone deliveries from Iran to Russia is to confuse Ukrainian and Western intelligence in order to achieve some operational secrecy and tactical surprise for the Russian forces, Koffler says. Ukraine will likely be targeting these drones for destruction, which raises the threat concerns for Russians, especially in light of recent mysterious attacks on Russian ammunition depots and other targets in Crimea. The photo I've shared with you, the reason I asked does that look familiar, is because doesn't that look a lot like our drone? Like, a lot like our drone. Because you have to remember, Iran actually shot down and captured a few of our drones. And as Scott pointed out, you can make it look like ours, but you're not copying what's inside of ours. At least not one-to-one, which is why they have so many failures. Which leads me to the next story that followed literally the day after this one, despite the fact that Russia has agreed to purchase over 700 of these drones from Iran. Deal, signed, sealed, and in the process of being delivered. What was the Iranians promised as payment? Because rubles aren't worth shit. They don't need rubles. They definitely don't need oil, right? Could you imagine if the Iranians were like, take our 700 drones with our compliments? And Russia's like, what do we owe you? And the Iranians are like, well, you don't really have anything we need. Wait, I got an idea. How about you give us one of your nuclear weapons? I mean, you've got 7,700 of them. We're only asking for one. We'll give you this whole drone. All of them. Just give us one. And maybe send a couple people over to show us how it works and how to make one. And Russia's probably going, okay. I mean, what's one nuclear weapon when you have 7,700 of them in inventory, right?
They don't.
Easiest deal ever made. Like, if you didn't think Russia or Iran has a nuclear weapon, they probably do now. And they're probably reverse engineering the one they were given. But then again, if it works like the drones, it's going to be a while. What do I mean by that? This story is called Out of Order. And yes, I did put the logos on there because you're better off buying from those 5 places because their drones are going to work better than the Iranian one. The Russian military is already having bad luck with the drones it received from Iran, which has quickly begun experiencing technical failures less than a month after the first batch was received. There are tons of bugs in the systems, a Western security official told. According to a report Tuesday, the Russians are completely dissatisfied. Russia received dozens of Iranian-made drones on August 19th, the first batch in which U.S. officials believe is supposed to be several hundred that Iran is planning to provide the Russian military. Less than 1 month after receiving the first batch, Russian forces are reporting technical difficulties and malfunctions north of 50% with these drones. Iranian officials reportedly visited Iran twice last month to view the drones that were to be provided to Russia, though it remains unclear whether the aircraft were a gift from Iran or whether the Russians were paying for it. Gee, it's almost like I was foreshadowing this story. According to a report from Reuters, the drones are Shahed series and Mohajer 6 models, both which are manufactured in Iran. And one U.S. administration official told the outlet that the drones have experienced numerous failings. Russia's been slow to adapt drone technology in recent years, a fact worsened by U.S. and Western sanctions that have crippled the country's ability to buy the type of technology needed to advance its own drone program. Faced with fierce resistance from Ukrainian forces, Iran stepped up and agreed to provide Russia with the unmanned aircraft that are capable of carrying weapons. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces have been able to use their own drone program with success since the beginning of the conflict, though Russian forces have become more advanced in jamming or shooting down those drones in recent months. The shipment of Iranian drones comes at the same time the U.S. has redoubled its effort to fund the Ukrainian war effort, announcing last week the aid package worth nearly $3 billion. The U.S. is committed to supporting the people of Ukraine as they continue to fight and defend their sovereignty. This came from Joe Biden last week. So anyway, yeah, free drones, 50% failure rate.
Jesus Christ! Don't these Russians got Amazon or something? That would have been.
Well, here, they do. It's called Wish.com.
Yeah, I put the logos all in the picture. Etsy, Wish, Craigslist, AliExpress.
Well, I'm sure all of us saw that nice video of the robot dog with a machine gun
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can I
And
get
they
that
can't
they
get it down to work?
AliExpress.
Yeah.
Do I have to get that off AliExpress or can I get that through Amazon?
I can't
Probably
get it through
both.
Amazon because them fuckers still have me suspended.
By the way, 5 pays back on that thing you wanted.
Fuck you. All right, so are we in World War III?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let me bring up just one more weird facet, because world wars always start in small places, like a do-nothing area of the country or the world, and it gives everyone an excuse to pick sides and start fighting, right? And then
Right.
sometimes your dissenters are mysteriously executed or suicided or whatever, right? Well, a couple days ago, a Russian oil executive who criticized the Ukrainian invasion, who used to be a friend of Vladimir Putin, mysteriously died after, quote, falling out of a hospital window.
Yeah, his own hospital window, in fact.
Mysteriously died falling out of a hospital window.
And that article says, it he plunged, but apparently there's been a series of sudden, unexplained deaths of businessmen in Russia that this
Speaking
is also
against the
happening.
government.
Yeah, so
he's the
whether
executive for Lukoil.
Yeah, he's the
He's
executive
the
for Lukoil.
owner of Lukoil.
Was.
Was.
Now he's the owner
Was.
of Worm Food. Dust.
Yeah, but as we were talking earlier today about this, as I said, I had a theory that that possibly the detractors of Putin's detractors, are possibly, or even the oligarchs themselves, are offing those that are allies or supporters of Putin, and we're just now seeing evidence of it. Or, as you said, the other theory was they are Putin's detractors, and he's just deciding to, instead of sending them to the gulag, just
take them out.
Just taking them out.
See, he can't take out Navalny because he's too globally recognized.
Well, he's trying.
Executive
He's really
Lukoil?
trying.
He definitely tries.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
trying right now.
nobody could say who the president of or the executive of Lukoil is. Like, nobody knows that. Everybody knows the name Alexei Navalny. He's made a stink. He has a international criminal court defense attorney who visits him weekly. Like,
he's got a following all over the world.
Yeah, and he does have access to social media every time the lawyer shows up.
Right.
So,
but as I said, my theory is, as you said, Lukoil was a supporter at one point of Putin, and as you saw earlier this week or last week, I would say, with one of his top allies, his daughter getting killed in a
It's
car
not his
bomb.
daughter. It wasn't Putin's daughter.
No, it wasn't Putin's daughter. It was his ally's daughter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, and then they said she was martyred.
She getting caught in a car bomb, which whether it was meant for her father, Putin's ally, or whether it was meant for her directly, we have no idea. We think it's for her father because she was driving her father's car because he owns like 14 of them.
All Mercedes S-Class.
Yeah.
AMGs.
So, but the point is that Putin's allies, and it could be that this as I said, the theory could be that the oligarchs are starting to take out the big allies because they're tired of their money being worth shit.
Yeah.
Or they're tired that their boats keep getting seized.
Their boats getting seized, their assets overseas getting seized, and they
We
can't
haven't
do
been
anything
hearing
about
about that much lately, though.
No, you haven't, but it's still happening. We know it's
because they
happening.
won't leave their own shores now because they don't want their stuff seized abroad.
Exactly.
So I think we jokingly
They
talked
can't
about
go
this
abroad either.
But
We
this
talked about
isn't a
They
this
can't
joke.
go anywhere.
This
isn't really a joke. It's a plausible theory. But as I said, it could be that you were right that these are his distractors, and instead of sending them to Siberia or another gulag, he's just taking them out.
I'll just say it. He has 2 HVS. One of them is not terrible to look at, but the other one is. Anyway, no, I think you and I joked about this slightly this morning that not only from the Allies' perspective that we have created a proxy war, but from the Russian perspective, now there is an oligarch-driven proxy hitman war going on, right? Like they're hiring people to take out other people who may be fellow oligarchs. Because what they're trying to prove is you cannot be pro-Putin but anti-Ukrainian war. You have to toe the line all the way, is what they're saying. You can be pro-Putin, but then you have to be pro-Ukraine war. This guy wasn't. He mysteriously fell out of a hospital window. Never mind the choke marks around his neck as he was thrown from that window.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's just hemorrhaging after impact. Really, but I could see the fingernail digging into the throat.
No, those are impact marks.
Impact marks.
A Makarov shell on the floor.
There's a piece of a broken fingernail embedded into his larynx.
No,
No,
that was on the ground when he hit the ground.
No, he ate chicken, bit cartilage before he swallowed. No, it's on the outside. Listen. Don't be caught near hospital window if you keep this path. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's see what else. UN nuclear agency completes their first tour of the besieged nuclear power plant and have announced that they will establish a continued presence. That story broke this morning. It was immediately followed up by an accusation from Russia that spies are being installed. Whatever. Other story was China and Russia are teaming up for war games, despite U.S. sanctions, basically telling them that they can't do that. It just goes to show that sanctions are useless.
They are.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's see. Oh yeah, Russia installing spies. Okay, so I also have this story because we focus on, in World War II, which, just a reminder, today was the official end of World War II. Today, because in 1945, September 2nd, the official surrender of Japan was signed on the battleship Missouri. Today,
Because
1945.
they got nuked.
Well, yes.
When did Hitler fake his own death and go to Argentina?
April 30th.
That was also in 45 earlier.
April
What
30th.
day?
April 30th, 1945. 10 days after
Oh,
his birthday.
so a little earlier.
10 days
Little
after his birthday.
Okay.
So yeah, that was officially. Well, no, the war for them ended, I think, in May, the E-Day. But yeah, you talk about ETO for the European front, and PTO, Pacific Theater Front, right? Pacific Theater of Operations. So you have VE Day, VJ Day, not VJJ Day, VJ Day. And I think during this whole conflict, we talk about the basically the ETO, European Theater of Operations. This is happening in Ukraine. This is Eastern Europe. Nobody's talking about CTO, Chinese Theater of Operation. There was a really good story that came out today. It was titled 3 Lessons That China Can Take With Them with Their War with Taiwan, watching what's going on in Ukraine. So stand by and let me get this all out. We'll chew on this a little bit. Russia attacked Ukraine on February 24th. Now, 6 months later, Ukraine is launching a large-scale counteroffensive to drive the Russian invaders off the west bank of the Dnieper River to retake a major city, Kherson. Some 5,000 miles east, the People's Republic of China continues to press Taiwan. On Tuesday, China flew a reconnaissance drone near a Taiwanese-held island. Taiwan fired warning shots at it and warned that further intrusions will be met with force. 2 days later, Taiwan shot down a Chinese drone in what is the first hostile fire from Taiwan since 1958. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander in Europe during World War II, noted, "What counts is not necessarily the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog." From the start of Russia's invasion, Ukraine showed that it had the fighting spirit it needed to survive Moscow's attempted blitz to overrun its territory and overthrow the government. But tenacity, holding on to your homeland, and organizing an effective offensive are 2 very different tasks. The latter requires supplies, mechanized equipment, and large volumes of accurate artillery and missile fire. The jury is out on how well the Ukrainians will do against a Russian foe that is now low on morale and poorly supplied due to Ukraine's attacks on Russia's logistics trains. Russians are not likely able to respond in a way which they are accustomed to, with generously supplied massed artillery. Russia may be looking at a sharp defeat that could change the calculus for a negotiated ceasefire. Russia's ongoing difficulties in Ukraine are being very closely watched in Beijing, where General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party Xi Jinping has ratcheted up tensions across the Taiwan Strait. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the self-ruled democratic island of Taiwan on August 2nd merely delivered a pretext to Xi to do what he was going to do anyway, use China's new military hardware to cow Taiwan, and those nations that might come to Taiwan's aid should China invade. Taiwan's importance cannot be overstated. It is the linchpin of the Pacific's first island chain. Seizing Taiwan would provide China with deep water access to the Pacific, allowing it to threaten key trading routes serving Japan and South Korea. It would allow China to threaten Japan more readily to the north and the Philippines to the south. And things have changed since the decades when the former Chinese national leader, Chiang Kai-shek, and his successors ruled Taiwan. Since 2000, Taiwan has seen 3 peaceful transfers of power between opposing parties. Taiwan's democracy threatens the very credibility of the Chinese Communist Party's one-party dictatorship, and Taiwan manufactures 90% of the world's advanced computer chips. See, there's this saying, if you want it cheap, get it from China. If you want it built right, get it from Taiwan, when it comes to electronics, that is.
Remember what Armageddon said. Russian components,
All made
American
in
components,
Taiwan.
all made in Taiwan.
And it's sort of true. The other funny little fact is, the story, or this piece, pointed out something very specific. This gives China deep water access to the Pacific. Right now, they're in the process of building new nuclear submarines. Lots of them. But what's really curious is half of them are built in forward base North China in the Yellow Sea. They can't get out of the Yellow Sea. They're stuck there because Korea is immediately east and Taiwan is to the southeast, which means they're stuck in their goldfish bowl, which makes people wonder, why the hell are you building them there? You can't get out from there. They can't break out. So why are they building them there? Because they're planning on, if they ever get to Taiwan, that will become their deep water port. It's basically the Golden Gate Bridge on the Western Pacific. You know what I mean? It's like that's the entry point for them to break out. And that's what they're saying here. Since Pelosi's delegation visited Taipei, Taiwan's capital, China has significantly increased its air and naval activities around the island. Prior to the visit, China would sortie 1 to a dozen aircraft to within about 100 miles of the southern tip of the island, 3 to 4 times a week. Larger flights of more than 2 dozen fighters, bombers, and intelligence aircraft were flown every 2 to 3 months. Now those larger sorties are an almost daily occurrence and are also flown across the breadth of the Taiwan Strait, which narrows to 90 miles from China at its closest distance, well within rocket artillery range. We know what China has done since Pelosi's visit, but what we don't know is leader Xi's intentions. How might the lessons from Russia's Ukraine misadventure be viewed in Zhongnanhai, the former Chinese imperial garden that serves as the headquarters of the Chinese Communist Party? China has had much success over more than a decade in its unopposed effort to militarize rocks and atolls in the South China Sea, picking up speed during President Barack Obama's term. China dredged, fortified, and built runways on dozens of outcroppings, hundreds of miles from Chinese territory. China muscled its way into waters claimed by its weaker neighbors, the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Brunei. The Philippines even brought suit against China in the International Criminal Court at The Hague, which ruled that China's made-up 9-dash line claim to vast swaths of the South China Sea are not legally binding. China simply ignored it. The court at The Hague has neither a navy or an army to uphold their verdict, which makes them useless, doesn't it? By its past behavior and successes in the South China Sea, it might seem that China would simply ramp up the pressure on Taiwan, gradually but effectively blockading the island over time, cutting it off from trade and forcing the island to surrender. But, while China was busy grabbing a bunch of rocks in the ocean, it expected adjacent nations to be frightened into Beijing's orbit instead. China squandered goodwill and earned a deepening enmity from the nations it sought to pressure. Thus, an attempt to slowly muscle in on Taiwan would merely accelerate Japanese rearmament, among other consequences.
Which it already has.
Yes, it has. Instead, China might seek militarily to conquest Taiwan. If it does, Russia's experience in Ukraine suggests 3 things. First, invade with overwhelming force. Do not hope for a quick capitulation, only to be stuck in a bloody stalemate. Second, achieve information dominance. Do not allow Taiwan to tell its story to the world. Too late. It's already doing it. Third, expect that Taiwan will have friends. Attack American and Japanese forces in the region that might interfere with the invasion. I think the Seawolf and Los Angeles class and, oh crap, I forgot the other ones. What came after the Seawolf? They're smaller.
Yeah.
They're slightly
They're
smaller.
less capable, too.
Anyway, I think those might have a little something to say about that idea.
Also, the Japanese subs are some of the best in the world.
They're diesels, though.
They are diesels,
They're
yes.
great
That
littoral
makes them
ones.
but that makes them even more fucking dangerous.
Yeah, they're really good littoral ships, too. Anyway, unfortunately, the Biden administration continues with what it appears to be a single-minded focus on Russia, while tension in the Pacific heats up to the boiling point. That's kind of true, actually, if you think about it, because Hunter Biden, a story broke out today that he made all the arrangements for meetings with China for his dad. Didn't he also make all the business dealings with Ukraine?
Yep.
Burisma? That didn't
Didn't
go
him
so
and his
well.
dad share a bank account?
Yes. Didn't we already figure out who
Ah.
the big guy is? Don't we already know whose laptop is already state's evidence?
Well, according to his former partner, Bobolinsky, we all know who the big guy is.
Yeah. We know who the big guy is. We're not stupid. So anyway, the question has to be asked. Are we in World War III, and is the world too scared to admit it? Me? I think yes. What
Yeah.
about you? Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
See, that's a really funny thing about history, isn't it? We're talking about it as it's happening. 25 years from now, well, it's probably too late for me to have kids and grandkids now, but if that were to happen, 25 years from now, my kids or grandkids would sit there and look in their history books, and they would talk about, can I help them with their homework assignment on World War III? And the history books will already have it written. But right now we're talking about, is it? Because when is the world going to fucking smarten up and just call it for what it is? Or does the world wait for the United States to jump in? Because, see, in World War I, that kicked off in 1914. We didn't get involved till 1917. So technically World War I for us was only a year. Right? World War II kicked off, if you really want to get into the geopolitics of it, it kicked off in like 36, maybe even earlier. But it didn't start with invasions until 39. We didn't get involved until December 8th, 1941. This time, are we involved? We're sort of involved like we were in World War I and II before we officially joined it. We were the lords of war. We provided the munitions, the bullets, the beans, and the bandages. We're doing that right now. Eventually, boots are going to be on the ground. It's undeniable. It's an inevitability. Why people are so naive to think that it's not is beyond me. This could have been a nation-on-nation conflict if no other nation got involved. Unfortunately, they all did, which means we're involved, which means there is a war and the world is involved in it. Pretty simple to me. That is a world war. Unless you've got any objections, I think we've reached a unanimous verdict. So, with that being said, I'm going to play this because we have spent 2 hours and 3 minutes of your time. And if you've been in the chat, I appreciate you being very active today. HVS, Grey Pilgrim, Terry Scherer, all of you guys. You did great. Y'all were stellar. Also my panelists, you guys were stellar too. So anyway, if you're new to my channel, welcome. But if you're a regular here, welcome back. Either way, check out my other playlists and see if my other interests may be of interest to you. This was the War Room. This was day 191. We will be back 7 days from now. Happy Labor Day, everybody. Slava Ukraini.
Heroim Slava.
And we will see you next week.
Shall not be infringed.
Later.
Salaikum assalam.